What's up, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Worldly Church Girl. It's your girl, your host, Lillian Harshaw. On today's show, I have a fantasy author, an entrepreneurial speaker, an exotic animal veterinarian, and she happens to be a reoccurring guest. It gives me great honor to reintroduce to you Savannah J. Goins. You are an entrepreneurial speaker and a fantasy novelist, but you also teach. But what you teach is how to value failure, and I love that. Tell us about that.
So a lot of things, pretty much anything people want to do in life, any kind of like following your dreams or accomplishing big things, what everybody has to go through is a lot of failure, because generally there's not really any such thing as an overnight success. There's a lot of things that go wrong along the way, a lot of having to figure things out, a lot of having to find a new approach, or finding out that your dream actually changes along the way. And I think a lot of people can get so discouraged by failure early on, when they're comparing themselves to people who've been working at it for 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 more years. And you could just feel so discouraged. And I think that a lot of really amazing people who could have done really amazing things didn't, just because they got so discouraged with failure. Because nobody says on Instagram how much they failed before they reach, this great point. Or if they do, it's not until way after they've reached, big goals people are jealous of. Nobody tells you along the way as they're failing. And so it can feel like you're the only one who's failing over and over again and who everything is going wrong for. So I think it's really important for people to have a better understanding of how much people have to fail along the way. It's just a rite of passage. There's just some things go wrong. It's great to learn from other people's failures as much as you can, but you're still going to have to go through some things that just don't work right as you go, and have to change and adjust the way you do things. And that's okay. That's a normal thing. Everybody has to go through that. And I think the more people are aware that it's a normal thing, the more people will find the strength in themselves to push through and keep trying despite everything that's going wrong.
Now, what advice do you give to someone that has failed more than once and they're just like, I just cannot do this anymore? What advice do you give them?
Well, I think a really, really great story that explains the advice the best way is something that Elizabeth Gilbert said. There was a really successful author who was having a book signing for like his 10th book or something, and there were crowds there, and he was probably a New York Times bestseller, and somebody else who was there, who was also an author, asked him a question. He said, "Sir, I have done everything you have done. I'm the same age as you. I've been writing as long as you, but I have none of this success. And like, what am I doing wrong? How can I have the success that you have? And if one more person tells me to just persevere, I'm going to just pitch a fit, because I'm so tired of hearing that." And the successful author said, "I'm not going to tell you to persevere. I wouldn't dream of doing that. I'm going to tell you to quit." In which everybody was shocked, like, why would you tell somebody to quit? That's so discouraging. But he says, we've only got one life to live. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing with your life, then you're wasting it. Like, even if you do eventually achieve this great goal, like if you hated everything you did along the way to get to it, then is it actually worth it? Because you've only got one life. So he ended up telling the author that if he's just not finding success and not happy with what he's doing, he should quit and do something else. Search out other hobbies, try fishing, boating, collecting antiques, whatever he has an interest in, anything but writing, if writing is making him so miserable. But then he said, if after trying all these other things, you find that nothing else brings you the joy and the excitement of trying to write, then I'm afraid that you have no choice but to persevere in writing. And that story just hit me so hard, because it's just like, you're never guaranteed success. So you need to find something that you enjoy doing enough that even if you don't have huge success, and even if you can't, compare yourself to other people who've done the same thing and are super successful, and find that you're equal to them in that way, that you've enjoyed the journey along the way as you've been pursuing this big goal. Like, maybe your goal is to be a New York Times bestseller, but even if you don't reach that, did you enjoy the many, many years you spent writing, trying to get there? And so I guess that's kind of a long answer, but what I'm trying to say is, if you failed multiple times and you've decided that you don't care anymore, or it's just making you so upset that you'd rather do anything else, then maybe it is time to pursue looking at something else. Maybe this is not what you're meant to do, and it's not what you actually enjoy enough to do to spend your life on. And maybe you should try finding something else. But if you find that these other things that you try don't make you as happy as trying at the other thing, then maybe the other thing is worth spending your life on, even if you don't reach the big success that you'd like to. Maybe it's worth doing that just because it's what you enjoy doing. And you've only got one life to live. So, I mean, why not spend it doing something you enjoy, even if you're never majorly successful at it?
That's an awesome answer. That's an awesome answer. Because, I mean, most of us have a hobby or something that we love doing. It don't necessarily make money off of it or get successful from it. And we feel so discouraged. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Now,
Thank
you
you.
emailed me a quote that helped you as a teenager. I
Yes.
want you to share that quote with everyone.
Yeah, so paraphrasing, this is a quote by Eric Liddell, who's a famous Olympic gold medalist, and he was a Christian, and um, he was being reprimanded by a relative of his who thought that he was neglecting some of his religious responsibilities because he was spending so much time running and trying to stay, keep his body in fit shape to run in the Olympics. And he said, paraphrasing, I know that God made me for a purpose, but he also made me fast. And when I run, I feel his pleasure. And that just gives me chills. It's such a good quote. And it reminds me of the verse in, I think it's in First Timothy, that says God has given us all things richly to enjoy. He doesn't give you passions and creativity and things that just delight you for you not to use them. I mean, there certainly can be ways that, like drinking alcohol is fun, but doesn't necessarily mean that you should spend your life doing that. Like there are certain things pleasure that are not necessarily things you should do all the time, but things like being creative and making things that you can bring to the world. I mean, God doesn't give you those desires and those things that just delight you and light you up and make you so happy inside for no reason. And I think that Eric Liddell is a great example of that, because he's not saying that he's gonna, abandon Christianity or that he'd rather be a runner than be a Christian. He's saying, I know God gave me a purpose, and he also gave me a body that can run fast, and I love running fast, and when I run, I feel him being excited with me that I'm doing this thing that brings me so much joy. And that was something that really stuck out to me when I was a teenager, and I was a very nerdy teenager. And I was obsessed with reptiles. I had a lot of pet lizards, and I loved books about dragons. I still have pet lizards and love books about dragons. That has never changed. But as a teenager, I felt a lot of pressure to, put those things of me aside to be cool and try to fit in with regular people who were not obsessed with lizards and books about dragons.
Hmm.
And I remember one time at a church retreat when I was probably 15 or 16, I heard this quote and I thought, oh my goodness, I know God made me for a purpose, but he also gave me this love for weird exotic animals. And when I am interacting with them, or, back then I wasn't working in them with in medical situations, but whenever I was interacting with them, finding them outside or watching Animal Planet shows about them, it delighted me and just made me so excited and fascinating. And it was the kind of thing I love hearing, random trivia about that you might never need to know, but it's just interesting facts that just make you say, oh, that's cool. And that just helped me keep that piece of my identity when I was a teenager, even though everybody told me it wasn't cool. And I'm so glad I held on to that
Right.
because it brings me so much delight still, 10 years later. And I think it will probably for forever, because I'm not planning on ever ditching that part of myself. And, it's expanded into other things in my life. I did go on to get my degree in veterinary technology, and I worked exclusively at an exotic animal clinic with my degree, where I worked with rats, birds, snakes, lizards, some alligators, an anaconda, a tiger, a few tigers, everything from
Wow.
betta fish to tigers. And that is one of the best experiences of my life. And I don't work there anymore. I had to change jobs in order to facilitate other pursuits in my life. But that is one of the greatest experiences I ever had. And I would not have had that experience if I had listened to everybody else telling me to fit in and be cool, instead of listening to, God gave me this immense pleasure in this thing that not a lot of other people necessarily understand. And I held on to it. And I had that quote come back up in my life recently, and it reminded me of that. And it stuck out to me so much. And it was just like all the feels.
I love that quote because when you sent it to me, I'm like, that's deep. That is
Mhm.
really deep. With you writing so many novels, which one would you say was your hardest one for you to complete?
I feel like currently, whichever one I've just completed always feels like the hardest one. I just sent the third book in my trilogy to my editor. And because I wrote the first draft of it a few years ago and then recently came back to it after improving a lot as a writer, getting back into that draft from old me was really challenging. I've my process has improved a lot, and I have a lot less messiness to my revisions now. But that book that I wrote a while ago that I just revised was quite an effort to revise, because I've learned a lot about outlining and drafting since then. So I would say that one at this point.
Okay. Well, I mean, what was it when you looked at it? You was like, "Oh my God, what in the world?"
I was like, how do I make a book out of this? There were so many places where I'd write a scene, and I'd be like, in parentheses, fight scene happens here, and then I'd go on and I'd skip that and I'd go on to the next scene, and there were so many scenes that I thought I had written
Mm-hmm.
that I had just put in parentheses, this happens. So coming back in to fill in all of the things that I had not filled in, that was very time consuming.
Wow. And you was like, "What was I thinking? What happened? What was this happening?"
Yes, definitely.
Now, which one would you say flowed out of you just like water?
Well, the one that I'm currently drafting right now, I'd say has flowed out of me the most. I got an idea actually from a Bible story in church earlier this summer. And just the first, I wrote like almost 20,000 words of an outline for a 5-book series just from this one idea over the
Really?
summer, just in a couple of weeks. That it just all flowed. And then I wrote the first like 15,000 words in the book. And I just wrote the last 30,000 words in 8 days. I wrote 30,000 words during National Novel Writing Month, and
Shut up.
that is a personal best for me. I've never written that much that close together. So that really is, quite the flow. Definitely the most a book has ever flowed out of me before.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
I'm assuming that we can't get like a tidbit of what it's about.
Oh, I can give you a tidbit actually. Let me pull up my little blurb that I can read for you. It's Mella's 16th year, and finally her turn to find out what animal will manifest from her chosen weapon to be her lifelong companion and comrade. Yet she fails to call her castling from her instrument of war, and instead brings her forth from a contraband instrument of music. But when Mella gets caught and her illegal castling is sentenced to death by shattering, Mella uncovers an even bigger secret that could save her castling's life. With the help of a long-forgotten prisoner, a mean girl, and some spiked punch, Mella takes a stab at the wrong bad guy.
Ooh.
In the very first line there, we have the animals, because I can't write a book that doesn't have animals as a very important part.
Right. And which brings me to my next question. If you could materialize any character of your books, who would it be or what would it be and why?
I'd have to say at this point it would be my character Very. He's like a flying squirrel character. He's based on a flying squirrel. He's bigger though. He's the comic relief, funny, hilarious character that shows up in book 2 of my series that's published right now. Actually, I think you can see this. I know that our listeners can't see the
Aww.
video, but I actually have here a plushie of Very that somebody made for me with his little wings and everything,
It's
and
cute.
his little bangs.
His side bangs.
Yes, he is my favorite character, and I would probably bring him out to be my friend in real life because he's so fun and so snarky and witty and just so much fun.
Now, what would your husband think about him?
Oh, he would think he was hilarious.
Okay.
I think he would enjoy hanging out with him just as much as I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, as an author, do you ever find yourself wanting to rewrite someone else's book?
I would say I often when I see things I've written in the past, I often think I should rewrite them as
So
as I improve and I see old things I wrote. I'm like, oh no, I wrote that. No. But with other people's books, not so much. I'm a lot more critical than I used to be of reading other people's work, which sometimes is disappointing because I like to read just to enjoy it. But I know a lot more about the craft now and often see problems I wouldn't have seen earlier on before I had written so much and, taken so many classes and learned so much about it. I don't usually find other people's books that I'd want to rewrite, but I do sometimes see things that I think they could have done better.
Oh, really?
Which I hate to say, I hate to be so critical, but when you spend so much time immersed and obsessed in something, you can't really help but learn some of the downsides of it as well.
Right. Is it grammar or is it the show and tell?
Some of both. Most books I've read are edited well enough that it's not grammar problems. But sometimes it's, how what bugs me the most, I think, is reading things that a character wouldn't actually do. Like, somebody, I've read several chapters, I've gotten to know this character, and then they make the character go and do something that is not true to who they've presented the character to be, and doesn't actually make just to move the plot in the direction they want. And it's kind of like a cheap shortcut that they should have foreshadowed better. That's something that really bugs me.
If you were not doing what you're doing right now, what do you think you would be doing?
Oh gosh, I can't imagine. I think I would be very sad because I love what I'm doing right now so much. I can't imagine what else I would do. I mean, really the only other thing I might have done was go and be a vet, which I'm glad I didn't do because I wouldn't have been able to pursue writing and the exotic animal side of things as much if I had done that. And I am really not one who loves college. I love learning. Whenever I need to learn something, I love looking it up and finding it out and using that useful information. But I just college was something I did because I had to and not necessarily because I really enjoyed it. And going to college for 10 years to be a vet and specialize in exotics would not have been very fun for me. So I think I might still be in graduate school right now or in vet school right now if I were pursuing that direction. So I'm very glad not to be in vet school. And I'm very glad to have had the experience that I had with the exotic animals at that clinic that I wouldn't have had until much, much later in life if I had even been able to get there as a veterinary resident. Other than that, I don't know. I think the only other thing I could do really probably was that. I can't imagine doing anything else though, because I really love what I'm doing right now so much.
How many pets do you have right now? Because I know you had quite a few the last time we talked.
Yes, right now I have a green iguana who's actually yellow because she's albino, and I have a bearded dragon, and I have 6 rats and a dog. So what's that? 7? No, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9.
9. How did you? Okay, I can't even look at a mouse or a rat. So 6 of them?
Yes. So if you go and Google pet rats doing tricks, you will find all these great YouTube videos of rats doing these really adorable tricks. They're incredibly intelligent and highly trainable. And I recently got these ones because they actually came in from an intake of I think a few hundred rats from someone who was hoarding them. So one of the rescues I work with, the Pipsqueakery is what their name is, the Pipsqueakery. They had a whole bunch of animals come in and asked if I could take some. So I took 6, and so they're rescue rats. And I just really want to try training them and see what I can do with it, because I've seen so many people do really cool things, and I think that if they could be trained to accept veterinary care more comfortably, besides just to do their fun tricks, if they could be trained to take some nasty medicine in a syringe in exchange for a treat, that would make medicating sick rats so much easier. And lots and lots of people actually have pet rats, even though some people might think that they're really gross. They have been portrayed to be gross, and sewer rats, are gross, but our domestic pet rats are actually really cute and sweet and soft and just incredibly intelligent.
So you haven't trained them yet. So you're working on it.
I'm working on it. Yeah, it's a process. You can train them really quickly, but with all of my other book being due to my editor and starting the NaNoWriMo book, I've been pretty busy with that recently.
Okay. Now, are you still in love with coffee and dark chocolate?
Oh yes, I am. I've been drinking a little more tea than coffee recently. I go through phases, but chocolate and we're always close.
Now with COVID going around, have you been like overdoing it with the dark chocolate?
A little bit. I discovered dark chocolate. Well, I had discovered dark chocolate covered coffee beans in the past, from like a specialty shop somewhere, but I discovered that Kroger has them in their little like trail mix aisle. Oh my goodness. It's like $5 for this giant container of dark chocolate covered coffee beans. And yeah, that's my new weakness. I've gone through so much of them. They're so good.
I did not know that.
If you have like a handful of them, it's like a shot of caffeine because it's just straight coffee beans with, there's some sweetness in the chocolate, but also a little bit of caffeine in the chocolate too, I think. So, a few of them can help you wake up in the morning.
Right. So how can people contact you?
So the best way to contact me, you can just go to savannahjgoins.com and hit the contact button in the on the top menu list. And my email is right there, and there's a contact form you can fill out. I'm also really active on Instagram, so the next best place to find me is there.
Okay, so here's your last question. You've answered it, but you might switch up on me.
Okay.
So we'll see. So if you can have any song be your theme song when you walk into a room, what would it be and why?
I think that has probably still stayed the same. Was it I Hope You Dance last time?
Yep.
Yes, that is just my life song. My next tattoo is gonna have to do with that. It's gonna say I Hope You Dance with some other stuff. But that song just means so much to me about I hope you never fear those mountains in the distance, the things you're gonna have to overcome, the failures, the challenges. I hope you don't fear those things and you do them anyway. And I hope that you dance, you not necessarily actually do a dance, but like just what it means is I hope that you're not the wallflower who's afraid to try things, but I hope that you go out, put yourself out there, take risks, have fun, discover new things you can do. Yes, just live life. So that song is still my theme song for my life. I think if I had to choose a secondary song, it might be Defying Gravity from the Wicked Broadway performance.
Oh, I love that.
Yes, oh, it's so good. Yes, I listen. I just belt that out at the top of my lungs very often. That's a very good one.
I love that. Now, where would you get the tattoo at?
That is a great question. I've only had one tattoo before, and I liked it, but I might end up trying another place. A lot of people have recommended other places to me. I don't know what they're called off the top of my head. Oh, you're not talking about where, though. You're talking about where on my body I would get it.
Yeah, not the place.
Potentially on my shoulder or potentially on my ankle. I kind of want to get it on my ankle, but I don't know if it would all fit. Because I actually want to get the mountain with the dragon over it from The Hobbit, like the Hobbit book map.
Yeah,
and I want it to say, I hope you dance underneath, because it looks like they don't go together. So I want people to ask me what it means, because I love to hear people's like the story of why people got a tattoo that they did. I love hearing that. And I love to explain mine to people too. So I like that they look like they don't match. And then I Hope You Dance is just such an important phrase to me from that song. And the mountain is just representing the mountains from the song, but then also like that I write fantasy and the fantasy books that I write and that I want to write in the future.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll fit on your ankle. That's a lot.
I know. I don't think it will. But I'll see. We'll see. I'll find an artist and talk to them about it and see. I could put it on my arm. Maybe I want to put it somewhere that I can see it. It might be a good like shoulder blade one, but I can't see it. So I want to put it somewhere I can see it.
Well, I mean, let me see your wrist, inside your wrist.
Yeah, I could. I've got my first tattoo is on my forearm, and it's the dragon from my book map with the phrase "Make good art" from the Neil Gaiman commencement speech. I like that. I don't know if I want to use up my other forearm yet, though. I think I'm too young. I think that there's going to be more important things that mean a lot to me in my life, and I might want to use my other forearm for something else. So I don't know yet.
Well, thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.
Thank you, Savannah, for being on the show. I enjoy every time we get to talk. We talk a lot, even on and off the show, and it's always a pleasure. And if you would like to be on Worldly Church Girl, click the link below, shoot me an email, and let's see what we can do with that thing. And have you subscribed? Why not? What are you waiting for? There's so many more episodes to come, And the one that you missed, you might as well back up and take a listen. And did you know Worldly Church Girl has gone live? You need to check it out. You can catch me on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, or better yet, just ask a friend. And as always, thanks for joining your one and only Worldly Church Girl.